Welcome back and welcome to another movie reviews video. I review movies here on this channel every Sunday. I will leave last week's movie review linked up there in case I talked about any of the films you are thinking of seeing at the movies this week, and as always I will leave timestamps in the description box below. If there is one particular movie you want to hear my thoughts on, you can scroll along to that time. So the first movie I saw in cinemas this week was, of course, Toy Story 4. I had to wait until Sunday to see it because I was seeing it with a friend, and it was just wonderful. You don't have to have seen the other Toy Stories in order to see it. I went to see it with Ollie and he hadn't seen Toy Story 3, but he felt like the recap that they give at the beginning of the film really catches you up. Obviously Toy Story 1 came out in 1995, so you're gonna need caught up. It's been a while since that one was in the cinemas. There was some real funny moments. I would say if you are taking very young children to this, a lot of the messages about being a toy that belongs to one person rather than just being a toy to give children joy in general are really good messages, and there are a lot of really good messages in there for kids, but some of that might go over very young children's heads, so that's just my opinion. Obviously if you are taking young kids to go and see it, you make your own call on that. I really liked seeing Bo Peep in this one again. Obviously we see her in the trailers, and just generally the toys interacting with each other. It's a very different film from Toy Story 1 and 2, but it's just brilliant in its own right. I don't really have an awful lot more than that to say about it. The whole cinema was laughing out loud at multiple points. It doesn't have that like sobbing factor of Toy Story 3, so if you're worried about that, you won't cry as much. I had a mini cry at one point, but only one point, and you know I'm a big crier in movies, so yeah, go and see it. Highly recommend. The second film I saw in cinemas this week was Yesterday. This is a Richard Curtis film, and Richard Curtis has done some of my favourite films of all time. So I was very, very excited about it. I also do like the Beatles music, so those two things coming together with these actors that just look fantastic in the trailer. But for me there was like just a little bit of a disconnect. Some of the way things were shot and the choices that were made in what like order to put things in sometimes just felt a little off to me. There was something that just didn't quite, it was so close to the mark of being like a classic, awesome, feel-good Richard Curtis film, but there was just a couple of things that just, it felt slightly short for me. I really thought that Lily James basically had kind of three expressions, and that was it in terms of her range in the film. Every reaction or every scene she used like one of the three for each point that she was making, and that kind of annoyed me as we went over the course of the film. I thought that Himlash Patel was amazing. I really enjoyed him. Ed Sheeran features quite heavily in the film, which I didn't realise, and he is quite wooden in the film. I don't know, obviously the parts when he's singing and stuff, it's fine, it's cool, but his acting was just like, what are you doing here? And then yeah, there was points where we had like, yeah, kind of arty shots where it would be like very close up or tilted, or we'd be driving along in a car, and there was it felt like there was overuse of the car in the film. The car that she drives is a Mini Clubman, and it features a lot in the film. It's like it's its own star. Like I say, it was good and I enjoyed it, and it was definitely feel good. It's a 2-hour film, and at no point was I like, when's this ending? But it just, yeah, fell slightly short. I felt like I just needed a little bit extra, or maybe a little bit less of some other things. So I do recommend seeing it, but I do have some reservations about it. And then the third film I saw in cinemas this week was an indie film, which kind of I saw unexpectedly. I wasn't expecting to see this, but it's called Framing John Delorean, and it is part documentary about John Delorean and the DeLorean car and its manufacturing history and his life and his history with General Motors. And then it's part biopic in the sense that we have Alec Baldwin being John Delorean in some reconstructions of some of the key scenes that we don't have a lot of good documentary footage for. So we see Alec Baldwin talking about being John Delorean in the film, and the fact that he was once very briefly attached to a possible John Delorean film, because the point that this film is making is that there has been no official documentary or biopic about John Delorean, and so it's kind of doing both. We see people being interviewed at the beginning that were attached to a possible John Delorean film, or another possible John Delorean film, yet another possible John Delorean film. And in the film we see his son and his daughter. We have lots of footage of him, and we even get to see some of the footage that the FBI used when he was arrested. So it was really interesting. I feel like I didn't know most of the stuff that went on in his life. A lot of what was in this film was new to me. I had no idea that he manufactured the DeLoreans in Belfast and built this factory from scratch and gave all these people these jobs and then shipped them over here to America. And yeah, I didn't realise how many times he'd been married, or quite what a playboy he was, or the fact that he'd had this quite impressive motor industry background as well. So if you get the chance to see that one, whether it's in the cinemas or whether you end up seeing it on streaming or you borrow the DVD from somewhere, I do recommend it because it was really interesting. I'm not sure the bits where we had Alec Baldwin doing the reconstruction were necessary. They didn't necessarily add something extra to the film, but they were fine. They weren't offensive in any way. I wasn't bothered by them. I just don't think they were necessarily required. So there. Those are the three films I saw in cinemas this week. As I say, timestamps in the description box below. I will have another movie reviews video for you next Sunday, so make sure you are subscribed so that that one lands in your subscription feed. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and if there is a particular movie you would like me to go and watch and share my thoughts on, you know Spider-Man's coming next week. Already got my tickets for that, so I will be talking about that one here next week. But anything else you would like me to go and see, let me know in the comments, and I will see you next Sunday for movie reviews, and I will see you tomorrow with another bookish video. Bye.